guys, I've just finished watching Disney's classic, third animated classic from 1940, Fantasia. Now, as you guys know, I'm sure most people have seen this classic film. Sort of the Disney film that was different to all the others. The one with no real narrative, the one with no dialogue, just animated pieces put to classical music. Now, funny story, not funny, but a story. Years ago, I had seen this previously. Well, I'd seen at least the beginning of it anyway. When I was a little kid, I went up to on holiday to a caravan place, and they only had a few. This is when VHSs were out, and they only had a few up there. And I looked through thinking, oh, what are we going to watch while we're up here, you know? And lucky, I saw they had Fantasia on VHS, and I picked up and I went, yes, you know, they've got a Disney film. So excited about it. Put it on, and when I discovered that it was all set to classical music and there's no talking, I just remember being so bored of it, and I just remember turning it off straight away. I just couldn't sit through it, and I hated it so much. And I'm saying, oh, this is my least favourite Disney film ever. And all these years later, I decided, you know, for this challenge to buy it again and see what I think of it now. And I'll be honest, there are still parts of parts of the film that I found boring and hard to sit through. Because this is quite a long film compared to most of the other Disney films. Because of course, most other Disney films are about 70 to 80 minutes. This is a good 2 hours. 2 hours and a bit, in fact. And it wasn't the easiest thing to sit through. In some of the stories, there's an animated piece that's been drawn, and the conductor wrote a bit of music for it, and they've performed it to what the story is. For example, The Sorcerer's Apprentice with Mickey Mouse, which is probably my favourite story on Fantasia. I guess most people's favourite. I think that was animated first, and they wrote a piece of music to go with that. But a lot of them are, you know, taken from classic, you know, composers like Beethoven and Bach and whatnot, and you know, the Nutcracker Suite, and then Walt Disney have, you know, done the animation for it. So some of these don't exactly have a story, but there's a couple that kind of do. This film contains a narrator called Deems Taylor, who's, I think he's like an American conductor, and he kind of comes up before each segment and introduces it and whatnot, and he's really good. Performed by the Philadelphia Orchestra, and their conductor is Leopold Stokowski, who only really talks once, and that's when he meets Mickey Mouse on the stage, which is really cool. I believe Mickey Mouse was going through an unpopular spell before this film, so that's why they decided to give him his own slot. And I think, to be honest, you know, Mickey Mouse is always the one that's remembered in this. I guess he's the one that always came up on the front covers for Fantasia, on the VHSs, on the DVDs, and now the Blu-rays. But I mean, this Blu-ray has got pictures of each story. And also, another story that I really enjoyed was, of course, the infamous Night on Bald Mountain. You know, to do with Satan and whatnot, and then the Ave Maria comes in, which is kind of it shows the contrast between good and evil. And it was quite creepy. I can see how little kids would be scared of that, you know, with the Satan and whatnot. Now, in terms of the Blu-ray, again, you know, I wanted to watch it. It gave me an option of 2 different aspect ratios. I wanted to watch it in the classic 1:33 aspect ratio like I've watched most of the others in. I just like watching them that way because, you know, it really, to me, gets the more classic feel out of it. And it did look great on Blu-ray. It looked fantastic on Blu-ray. But in my opinion, obviously this film, the music makes this film for me. And of course Blu-ray improves the sound as well. And just the sound just sounds terrific. I had it quite loud on the TV, and it was just, the sound was just amazing in this. And in my opinion, when we see cuts to the humans in the orchestra, they look, for me, the best on Blu-ray. I think they look better than the animation on Blu-ray. It just looks so modern when we see shots of the orchestra. But the animation, of course, still looks fantastic in Blu-ray. I don't think it looked quite as good as Pinocchio did, but still a great job by Disney. So I'm not really the biggest fan of classical music, but when you've got animation to go with it, it does sort of, you know, that's what keeps your attention going, I think. I thought the evolution of Earth story was very interesting. You know, it goes up to the dinosaurs and how they became extinct. You know, Walt Disney's taken all different, you know, aspects of life, and really, you know, it is worth a watch. It's not one of my favourites, you know, and still parts of me found it very hard to watch, but it is, you know, a classic film, and most people love it. I do like it, you know. I give it much more respect now than I did when I was a little kid, that's for sure. If you haven't seen Fantasia, definitely check it out. Personally, if you've got a Blu-ray player, I recommend getting on Blu-ray. I picked up the Blu-ray and the DVD double play just so I can watch it on my laptop as well. You know, definitely check it out. It's fantastic, you know, and of course, for this challenge I'll probably have to watch the Fantasia 2000 as well, which should be interesting. Where I believe it's got like Donald Duck and some of the other characters. So yeah, definitely check out Fantasia. I give it a 7 out of 10. Again, most of these ratings I give probably should get higher. Just my personal opinion again, but 7 out of 10, a strong, good mark. But for me, I think it was because I prefer sort of a narrative story and dialogue, and that's just what was missing for me. And my attention to it, it was hard to keep it the whole way through, but still fantastic. Definitely check out Fantasia if you haven't already.